Welcome to this edition of People of Toastmasters. Today I will be interviewing Todd Austin. Todd is a chiropractor from Virden. He's been in the chiropractic field for 17 years and is also the official team chiropractor for the Springfield Foxes. He's a charter member of the Montgomery County Toastmasters and a distinguished Toastmaster. He's also an avid bat conservationist, I have to say that right, since 1990 when he joined Bat Conservation International. So his alter ego, TheBatDoctor, is here to talk with us today. Todd, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Cindy.
My first question for you today is, people have a lot of interests and hobbies in life. What on earth got you interested in bats?
Well, that's a good question. It's a common question that I get, actually. What happened was I was a Logan College of Chiropractic student, and the first year at chiropractic college you're just bogged down with all these basic science classes, physiology, anatomy, microbiology, stuff like that. And so to escape, I would go to the local public library when I had a break between classes of more than a half hour or an hour, and I would find myself in the animal section because I've always loved animals. And one day I stumbled on a book about bats that, I kid you not, totally changed my life. And so it was by Dr. Merlin Tuttle. It was called America's Neighborhood Bats, and at the time I was afraid of bats. I thought they were creepy and they had diseases.
Really?
And what happened was Dr. Tuttle took pictures of bats where they actually looked like you wanted to reach your arms through the picture and hug the bat. It looked so pretty and cute and cuddly. I thought, wow, I had no idea that these bats were beautiful animals. And what happened, he explained, is that in the old days when people took a picture and you saw it in the National Geographic, someone would actually tease the bat, hold its wings back, blow a fan in its face, and it would go. So what he did is he said, let's just take pictures of bats in their natural environment, and they're just as beautiful as any other animal. Then I read his book, and he said, in the very back page, he said, if you've read this book from cover to cover, you are now in the top 1% of all people as far as being a bat expert in the entire world. So I'm like, geez, I'm an expert now. I better do something about this. So that's kind of where I got hooked. I sent my check to Bat Conservation International, even though I was just a struggling college student at the time. But I've always found time to donate my time and donate my money to the bats. And so
That leads right into my next question. You've been professionally speaking about bats since 1995, is that correct?
yes.
Okay, so you are probably known as an expert in the field in this area. And I would imagine as an expert in the field, you've probably gotten a lot of phone calls for bat removal or bat emergencies, if there's such a thing. Injured bats, that type of thing. Can you tell us a funny story or an interesting story about one of those phone calls?
Yes, I get a lot of calls. We call those bat rescues. So a bat rescue is where you would come in and rescue a bat. So I have done a fair amount of bat rescues over the years, and I've kind of learned on the fly. I have not had any formal training in bat rescue, just you have friends that are experts that you email and you Facebook message, and they tell you what to do. I have rescued lots of bats over the years. I guess a funny one would be that there were two bats that I took care of that came from the same colony. They were both found in the middle of winter in a lady's house in Carlinville, like 3 weeks apart. So she found a big female that was pregnant, and then 3 weeks later she found a little female that wasn't pregnant. So the two of them took a liking to each other. Their names were Pinkie Pie and Feisty. But we housed them together, and I guess the funny story is they would roost together, one right on top of the other. And what happened is when bats were hanging upside down all day, they actually pee and poop where they are. When I went to get them out and let them fly around, Pinkie Pie, the little one, was on top of Feisty, the big one. She pooped it was just on Feisty's hair, so I had to clean her off. But you wear gloves. So yeah, I cleaned her off. So I thought that was a bit interesting. But bats are like cats in that they groom each other. So there's some of that. Obviously, I got there before they groomed each other that particular day. So yeah, that's my funny story about bats that I've rescued.
Well, and you have touched on a couple of things. A lot of people do find bats creepy, and they're a little bit scared of them. They think they're gross. So for those of us who have no further knowledge of bats other than a man with a cape and a mask and a sidekick named Robin, would you tell us why bats are important to humans?
Bats are important to humans for many reasons, Cindy. And first of all, in Illinois, where we live, there are 13 species of bats found in the state. All of them exclusively are insect eaters. So, for example, one little brown bat can eat 1,000 mosquitoes in a single hour, or 3,000 mosquitoes in an evening. They do some majorly good work for pest control, whether it's residential pests like mosquitoes, or cucumber beetles, cutworm moths, things like that. That would be farm pests, crop pests. In other parts of the world, bats are important because they pollinate flowers, which allows different fruits and nuts to grow. People that like to drink tequila, that actually comes from a plant that the bats pollinate. If you were a person that you were like all about, we don't want to protect the bats, well, then there may not be any tequila for you to drink. So it's there. In other parts of the world, also we have the rainforests that rely on bats, and they carry seeds. There's seed dispersers. A bat that eats fruit in the rainforest may carry seeds up to 40 miles in a single evening. 80% of those seeds that drop will grow into new trees, and that's how the rainforest survives. So I cannot stress the importance of bats to humans, because bats are what we call a keystone species, and if bats were to go extinct, we would not be far behind them, I believe. They just are that vital to our ecosystem and our environment.
Well, Todd, thank you very much for sharing that with us. You've given us some interesting information, and I think you've made everyone in the audience today like bats a little bit more.
I sure hope so.
So thank you very much for coming and onto the show at Peoples of Toastmasters today.